Okay, so we're gonna draw 9 boxes in 1-point perspective. First thing I'm gonna do is establish my eye level. With this assignment and with everything we do in perspective, precision is helpful. And so I'm not just gonna draw a line and guess if it's horizontal, I'm actually gonna measure. And so I'm gonna measure down my page. This is 9 inches, so if I go to a 4.5 inches, I'm gonna put a little mark on this side, and then I'll come to 4.5 inches over here. It's really helpful when you're drawing in perspective to know like that you have perfect 90-degree angles at each corner. So I already have a perfect horizontal line and perfect vertical lines to use to help me. But by measuring down from the top, I make sure that my line is perfectly horizontal, okay? And this line we talked about is my eye level. I'm gonna mark that with an EL to help me remember that that's my eye level. And that means everything below this is below my eyes. Everything above it is above my eyes, okay? We also can think of it as the horizon line. Everything above this line is sky, and everything below this line is earth, okay? The next thing I'm gonna do is put in my line of sight. I'm determining where I'm standing and looking into this window. And again, I'm gonna use the edge of the page to help me get set up. So we got a 6-inch mark there and a 6-inch mark here. And this is a 9x12 sheet of paper, so I'm just cutting it into quarters basically. But this line right here, and I'm gonna draw this line lighter. But it represents that this is where my head is. My eyes are right here viewing into this scene. So everything, if I'm looking at the cube here, if it's at my eye level, all I see is the square, but as it comes down below the eye level, I start to see the top, right? And as it comes up above, I start to see the bottom. So this is my line of sight, or my LOS. And in 1-point perspective, when I'm actually facing the object, so the front of this cube is facing me, it's perpendicular, that's gonna put my vanishing point right here where these two intersect. And so I'm gonna put a little VP here. That means vanishing point, okay? And those are basically what we need to know for today. So we're gonna draw 9 cubes. We're gonna draw the first cube right in front of us. Okay, so as if it's right in front of my face, like that. And so the rules in perspective, in 1-point perspective, 1 is horizontal lines stay horizontal. And so on my cube, the bottom edge and the top edge are horizontal, so they're gonna stay horizontal. I'm just gonna draw 2-inch cubes, make it easy. And I'm just checking, I'm gonna make sure, I'm just eyeballing this, but I'm kind of checking and making sure that my ruler is parallel with that, so I get it lined up nice and straight. But that bottom of the edge is going to stay horizontal. And then my vertical lines are going to stay vertical. And since I just decided arbitrarily to do 2-inch cubes, I'm gonna put the top here. Same thing here. I'm using, like I said, I'm using the edges of the page and my lines to make sure I'm staying perfectly parallel, or as parallel as I can. We're not rushing through these. We want to keep them nice and clean and neat. It's a little bit mechanical at first, but even when I'm drawing a portrait, these ideas I'm aware of these things. Okay. So I've drawn my front edge of my cube. Now I'm going to draw my orthogonal lines. So the second one was vertical stays vertical. Third one is orthogonal lines go to VP. And so if I could see into my box, the front of the box was open, all of these corners would come into the center. I didn't quite get that one right, so I'm gonna redraw that. It's important to take your time and do it right, especially at the beginning. And I'm drawing these lines pretty light because I know they're not all gonna be there when I'm done. I'm gonna erase them, at least part of them. Okay, so if this was a tube tunnel, you could kind of see it going into space forever, but we're gonna put it back here. And I'm just gonna be arbitrary with it. I'm just gonna decide this is where my wall ends. And I can use these logic rules to help me draw the back of the box, right? So I've just done this side arbitrarily. I just decided I'm gonna let it go back that far. But I know this is the top corner, so I can draw a line from the top down here to the bottom. And now I've created this wall, so the wall on the right, okay? And now I've created two more corners, one here and one here. And so I just follow the perspective rules. This top back corner's gotta be horizontal. And so it's gonna go straight from that corner over to that corner. And then that one has to go straight down. And if I've done this right, this last one should just take care of itself. I don't even have to like measure, but I can just connect that dot and that dot. But sure enough, it should be perfectly parallel to the horizon line. And that looks pretty good, okay? And so now I can grab a kneaded eraser. A really useful drawing tool here. And I can kind of erase the back of my box. Okay. And we can play with the line quality here a little bit. So the front edge of my box, I could darken that up a little bit so that it pops forward a little. Add to that illusion of space. Okay, so the box comes forward, and then the back of the box disappears. I don't want to erase my vanishing point because I'm going to need it for my other drawings, but I can try to clean that up a little bit so that it looks believable. Maybe draw some lines that kind of fade so it feels like it's getting further away. I'm gonna use my ruler for this. I erased too much. Over here, there's a drawer with these erasers. They're just little erasers that can be nice if you need to get in and clean up. I don't use these really till I'm near being done because they destroy the tooth of the paper. But if I want to get rid of those lines and try to improve the look of my drawing. So anyway, but there's a box right at eye level, okay? So when we move it over, it's gonna change a little bit because we're gonna see the side of the box. And again, I'm just gonna do another 2-inch cube, which the front of will be a 2-inch square. So try to make it nice and horizontal. So there's a corner, and there's a corner. Then bring it up 2 inches. So it's still kind of spanning the eye level. It's still right here in front of me, but it's just to the side a little bit. Okay, so my horizontal lines stay horizontal, my vertical lines stay vertical. And now my orthogonal lines have to go to the same vanishing point, right? They have to go to those 3 places. They're either straight up, straight sideways, or they go here. Those are the only 3 places they can go. So this back edge, and I'm gonna draw this really lightly because I'm gonna just decide where to end it, somewhere over here. And I'll just say that my back edge, I'm gonna cut it off right about there. So as long as I keep this line vertical, it feels like we're pretty vertical there. There's the back edge of my box, right? And now we're gonna draw through so we can find the other parts of the box. So, and I'm gonna draw this very lightly, again, because I'm not sure, I haven't decided yet what's gonna actually be visible at the end of the day and what's not. But that line's gonna head that way. This line's gonna head that way. So how do I figure out where the end of this wall is right here? Logically, what can I do? Yeah, it's got to hit this corner, right? Or this corner here. And we know that every line either has to be vertical, horizontal, or orthogonal. And this is going to be a horizontal line. So I already have the back edge of my box. I don't have to figure anything out. I just have to keep that corner parallel. Okay, and so it hits here. I can drop that line down. This logic becomes really important. Pretty simple right now, but we're gonna go pretty deep. That comes down there. And then again, if I did it right, that corner and that corner should line up and also be perfectly horizontal. And if I wanted to open up this box so that you could see inside, I could either open up the front or I could open up this side here. And I'm just gonna open up the side. It makes it pretty easy. So the front of my box, I'm gonna darken in so it's nice and strong. Just adding some weight by building up my line a little bit. This is why we're using a little bit harder pencils than we've used before, because they can give you more precise lines and they don't wear down as fast. They don't get dull as fast. So we'll make sure you have an HB pencil. Okay, so the front of my box is bold. I'm gonna get rid of this line and that line because I don't need them. I'm gonna leave these lines kind of faint, but I might come in and make that a little heavier so that it feels like you could see into this box. If I wanted to, I could even maybe add just a little bit of tone there. So it feels like it's just so it's open, right? It feels like you could walk inside. But all this stuff, I'm gonna lighten up because it's covered, it's hidden. I wanna see it though. I wanna see that you can complete the logic. Every one of these boxes draw completely through. It also makes it really easy to open up one edge. Since I threw some tone in there, I might as well throw some tone in here as well and just show that that box is open. Darken it in a little bit here. But they should feel like boxes, right? So if we go up above, do the same thing. I'm gonna put in a 2-inch vertical line. How are we doing on time? We've got about 10 minutes. Okay. So there's the side of the box. Put in the bottom. I'm just looking to make sure that it's parallel with my other lines. And then I'm going to measure over 2 inches. So, and every line's vertical, horizontal, or orthogonal. It's nice when you're really close to an edge. You can just kind of eyeball and make sure that it's the same all the way. And there's the top of my box. So now I got to put in these orthogonal lines. So all the lines moving away from me go to the vanishing point. So there's a line going to the vanishing point. There's a line going to the vanishing point. There's a line going to the vanishing point. And again, I'm just being arbitrary with where the back is, right? So I'm just gonna say this goes back that far. So as long as I make it perfectly vertical, it should be believable. Come straight down, there's the back of my box, and then as long as I go straight horizontal, there's the back of the bottom. Where's my... Make sure that looks good. Checking to make sure it's parallel. Okay. So big cube floating. We're going to draw through. So the back of my box is going to be something like this. And then I'm going to have a corner here. I didn't quite draw that line far enough. There's going to be a corner right here, which should be perfectly vertical from that corner. It's a little off. Darn it, it wasn't quite perfect. But we'll fudge it. And then we'll kind of just figure it out, but somewhere in here. Okay, and so I can decide which of these do I want to open up. I could open up the bottom, be really easy because there's only one line there. I could open up the front, or I could open up this side. Let's open up the front though, just for fun. So I'm gonna really knock back those interior lines, beef up the outside edges. Could bring in some tone. Look like there's some shadow in there. The line quality's not quite working yet. Come back in, get that going. Definitely want the front of the box to be the strongest, boldest lines. Add to that illusion of dimensionality. Okay. And then I'm going to repeat that process 6 more times. One here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Sorry. One here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. But 9 cubes, following the logic of perspective, and try to open up one side of each box.